I just wanted to add one or two thoughts to your comments on Pipeweed and the Hobbits. I found your video fascinating and well thought out. I think Pipeweed for the Hobbits was a means of them, whether intentionally or not, understanding themselves and their place in their world. And certainly Pipeweed was a very important part of that place. I'm just reading the books again, and I've just got to the place where Aragorn heals those who have been touched by the blackness and the terror of the king of the underworld, the Sauron's second in command, so to speak. And the first thing that happens after Aragorn's sort of healed Meriadoc is that he talks about wanting something to eat, but also wanting a pipe. And the first thing they do is share a pipe while the food's being prepared. It's almost as if that pipe is part of the healing process of, if you like, re-establishing the important things of the art of pipe smoking, the gift that it's given the hobbits, a completion of the healing from the hurts that he'd suffered and from any effects of those hurts. It's as if he's wanting to reground himself in his traditions and the pipeweed as an art. Another thing that occurred to me, this is going to be very disjointed, another thing that occurred to me was that the Rangers smoked. And had clearly come across pipeweed when they were having contact with the hobbits. But one of their roles was to protect the Shire, to enable the hobbits to continue their lifestyle. It's as if both Gandalf and the Rangers recognised how important the hobbits were, but how important that lifestyle they had of smoking pipeweed, of enjoying meals together, which is another bond. And other people outside the Shire recognised how strong the hobbits were, how moral they were. And I think that strength and morality did come from the pipeweed, because I think it taught the hobbits who they were and their place in life. It took away all superficial ambition of importance and of power. One of the things that saves Samwise when he's got the ring is that whilst he's thinking about what power he can have from it, he realizes that he's just not geared to that he's Sam, the sturdy, the reliable, the servant of his master. Tolkien himself says that he thought Sam was one of the most important characters in the book, if not the most important character. And I think that was because he was from that stock of the Shire, that it was imbued in him. And in England, the Shire is important. We have the shires, we have the villages. And despite all our built up places, all our cities, all our lifestyle, the village lifestyle is still important. We're made up mainly of villages. And in Tolkien's time, they were very much the backbone of the country, the farming stock, the village life was that which they wanted to preserve during the war. Tolkien says himself that his book has nothing to do with the Second World War or with fighting Hitler or anything like that. But I think that what was in his mind was how important that lifestyle was, that simple lifestyle, those strengths that came from village life, came from the shires, the yeomen of England. And in the Hobbits, we see that personified. They didn't think they were capable of great deeds, and yet were very much aware of duty and of their duty to carry out that which was given to them. And I think pipeweed, the art of the pipeweed was something that increased that knowledge of themselves. And as you say, helped them to realise what was important. When we smoke a pipe, it is a very contemplative thing if we allow it to be. It's a very formative thing. It helps us to get in touch with what really is important, what really is there for us. And one of the things that the hobbits weren't afraid of was saying, what do we like? What gives us pleasure? And what satisfies us in reality? It's not the gathering of things or the power. It's the simple things where we get our pleasure and our fulfillment from. And you mentioned about the destruction of Bag End and the terrible effect that was on such a simple society. And one of the things that struck me was that the beginning of industrialization, the old mill being torn down and a new mill put in its place, the beginning of the gathering of, if you like, a capitalist society, a society that's based on what we have. Rather than what we are. And I think that was what was so shocking about those events in the Shire. And the number of times that smoking comes, there's that wonderful sort of image of Theoden who promises to sit and smoke with the hobbits, to talk over those things, and seems to recognise that the hobbits have something important to teach, to share. And the benefit of doing that, of just being with them, of just allowing them to be themselves. And both of them became an aid to the king, to Theoden and also to Denethor, the steward, and served almost as a help in understanding what it meant to be of service and have a wisdom that was simple. And both those very powerful men, and Aragorn, who was very powerful, Gimli and Legolas and Gandalf respected the hobbits and saw them as important, saw them as being more than they realised. And I think all that came from the hobbits' use of pipeweed, the knowledge it gave them, the understanding of themselves that they came across. And I think it was important for the Inklings, the group that Tolkien belonged to, that they met and drank ale and maybe shared a meal or shared in the things of the tavern and smoked to their pipes whilst they shared their stories. Again, that comes out in the Hobbits. They share their history of where they have come from and their history of the pipeweed, their history of their society, which helped to strengthen that bond. And I think that's partly the attraction for us with our pipes, that Tolkien reminds us of what's important about smoking to us, that it's not a habit as such, although it can be, that it's not necessarily acquiring. It's a matter of sharing, of developing, of growing, of understanding more about ourselves. And I think that's why the YTPC shares so much between its members, because we realise that the pleasure that gives both the receiver and the giver. I think we're going to end there, because I could just ramble on about pipeweed and about smoking, but I wanted to thank you for starting off a train of thought that deepens the story for me. And I just want to say, may your pipe always be full and your matches always dry. May you always have the means to share in that great art of the pipe and of the pipeweed.